We will have two messages this morning since it is Father's Day. And so as we look at the key passages, as we look at Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, and Deuteronomy 5, verse 16, we're very familiar with these passages. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. Honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, that your days may be long, and that it may be well with you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. When Paul makes allusion to this in Ephesians and in Colossians, he changes it somewhat. Because these passages here from the Old Testament are written to Israel. They are not written to the church, and the nature of what is said is somewhat different. When you look at Ephesians chapter 6, verse 2, it says, to do this, that you may live long upon the earth. But notice, in Exodus 20, verse 12, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. We often treat it as though the Old Testament is making a promise of long life for individuals. But that's not the thrust of the passage. The thrust of the passage is that the nation would be in obedience to the conditions under which God would allow them to stay in the land. Many times in the Old Testament, Israel became disobedient, and when they became disobedient to God, they were evicted from the land, whether it be by the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Greeks, the Medo-Persians, or the Romans. God had requirements for obedience to his rules. And the way that the passage is set up, he's saying, if children do not honor their parents, sounds like 2012. And look at what our society is like. Do we see an overwhelming desire within our culture for people to seek out the Lord? No, we don't. And where does God say that the roots of that are? Parents that do not train their children to honor them are also parents who do not teach their children to honor God. And so, when we look in the Old Testament, the primary thrust of this command was that Israel would enjoy national blessing as people learn to honor God through honoring their parents. It's an extremely important concept. Interestingly, it's related to our passage that we're going to be considering in the main message in Jonah.